Hi, I'm Kamali, taking you through the stories people are talking about and sharing around the world on Newsfeed today. Hashtag Stephon Clarke, unarmed and shot 20 times. His killing shown in newly released police footage brings people to the streets. It's been quite the week in France. We look at social media's reaction to the strikes. After racism on campus in England was revealed through WhatsApp, we ask, what privacy can you expect when communicating online? And we're going to need a bigger room. This image of Michele Obama is too popular, and yes, we will show you that video of her dancing with a toddler to shake it off. Right, well, top of our newsfeed is Stephon Clarke. This was outside the Sacramento Kings game last night. People organised online formed a ring around the arena, stopping people getting in and getting out. Listen to the chants. And it was because of this. We're about to play you footage released by the Sacramento Police Department. Some of it is from the officer's body camera, in which they are required to wear, and the police helicopter. The footage begins in the air. Now, police are chasing a person said to be a 6-foot-tall black man carrying what was described as a toolbar. We call them crowbars in the UK, who was apparently breaking windows nearby. They chased this person to a backyard, and then this happens.
Show me your hands, gun! Show me your hands, gun, your gun! 5-7 shots fired, subject down. He was still pointing. Oh shit! When I saw again, you alright, dude?
Yeah, I'm alright. I don't think I'm hit or anything.
I got him at gunpoint, dude. You do a tactical reload, okay?
Copy.
I think I shot about 5 times. We haven't secured it. We're not moving in until we have more.
We don't have it. Do you see it, Jared?
I don't see it.
He hasn't moved at all.
He hasn't moved at all.
Well, this is Stephon Clarke. He was 22 years old and had 2 children. He was shot in the backyard of the house he shares with his grandmother. She was woken by the gunfire. The only item found by his body was a white iPhone. The police officers each fired 10 shots. They've been put on paid leave while the investigation is carried out. They've not been named, but CNN says that one of them is African-American.
They said it was a toolbar, they said it was a gun, and now when you see it, they said he had a cell phone and then yelled, he has a gun, and then all of a sudden they shot him dead.
All right, let's look at what else is trending on social media. Well, this is the cover of Time magazine. Today, students across the United States will march on Washington in what they're calling the March for Their Lives. It's the demands that the US government do something to reform the gun laws. The students pictured all went to Marjory Stoneman Douglas High School. 17 of their friends and teachers were shot dead there on the 14th of February. The president of Nigeria has tweeted that he will not abandon the only schoolgirl held by Boko Haram after more than 100 of them were released. They'd been kidnapped from Dapchi in Yobe State last month. Now, back in 2014, the terror group, whose name translates as Western Education is Forbidden, kidnapped these girls, more than 200 of them. That began a campaign that went around the world under the hashtag Bring Back Our Girls. Well, some of those girls taken from Chibok are still with the group. Chimamanda Ngozi Adichie, Ava DuVernay, Tandy Newton, Noam Chomsky, to name but a few, have written to the Brazilian government demanding an immediate independent investigation into the killing of Marielle Franco. Marielle Franco was the only black woman on Rio City Council and a vocal critic of the police. She was assassinated on March the 15th. Initial reports say that she was hit 9 times by police-issued bullets. Hashtag MarielleVive continues to trend. Now, after the week they've had, no one is happier it's Friday than the French. Protests effectively shut the country down yesterday to show their anger at President Macron's reforms to French labour laws. Now, 30% of international flights were affected, schools were closed, trains and buses didn't run, nurses were not on the wards. And the powerful French unions, which have more than 5 million members, say this is just the opening salvo. Yesterday was also an auspicious day to begin. On the 22nd of March 1968, students occupied a university building and their action nearly toppled the government of Charles de Gaulle. Now, while over in Italy, they're still trying to form a government, which might be difficult considering the party with the most votes was started specifically to rail against the establishment.
This stand-up comedian founded a party which just won Italy's elections. Referred to as populist, accused of being fascist, now run by a 31-year-old high school graduate, this is Italy's Five-Star Movement. Frustrated by the Italian establishment, corruption, and economic struggles, Beppe Grillo started this movement in 2009, using his blog to spread his message. He was mainly known for stand-up comedy and organizing FU days as a way to highlight the problems Italians face. And then went on to coordinate meetings of his movement's online followers. They mobilized huge numbers of Italians, mainly the unemployed and those from the south. The formula was simple: rally locals in different communities throughout Italy, spread their message, run for parliament. And it worked. In 2013's elections, Five Star got the most overall votes, but didn't want to form a coalition with any of the establishment parties, so a government was formed without them. They became the largest opposition party. Over the next few years, unemployment peaked, topping almost 13% in 2014, and a referendum on constitutional reforms in 2016 failed to pass. But recently, new elections were held, and
siamo I vincitori assoluti di queste elezioni e quindi, prima di tutto, un grande grazie ai circa 11 milioni di italiani che ci hanno votato, ci hanno dato la loro fiducia.
The five-star candidate for Prime Minister, 31-year-old high school graduate Luigi Di Maio, has a chance to form a government and become Italy's youngest Prime Minister. His party won 32% of the votes, more than any other party on the ballot. So here's what they're all about: direct democracy. They want to use the internet as a way to inform all Italians of what's going on in the government, and to use it so citizens can vote on key decisions. Referendum on the Eurozone. The party's leaders promised to organize a referendum on Italy leaving the Eurozone, but Di Maio said it was a last resort. Basic income. They propose basic income of $940 a month for all unemployed adults and those with insufficient incomes. Italians liked this idea so much that they're already asking for it, forcing a tax office in the city of Palermo to write on its doors, "We don't offer universal basic income." Anti-immigration. Di Maio described Italy's role in the Mediterranean as a taxi service for refugees and wants to build 2 new prisons and hire 10,000 new recruits for law enforcement agencies. This is really bad news for refugees, as Italy is one of the key countries rescuing them from the Mediterranean Sea. Around 113,000 migrants and refugees arrived on Italy's shores in 2017. So what's next for Di Maio's party and Italy?
All right, let's take you around the world now for some other stories you need to know this Friday. An area twice the size of France made entirely of rubbish is floating serenely in the Pacific Ocean. The Great Pacific Garbage Patch, as they've called it, is bigger than scientists thought. And it will keep growing as we continue to struggle to deal effectively with the amount of waste on the planet. Good job, humans. And could we be causing things like this? This is Hamlin Bay. And 150 short fin pilot whales became stranded. 143 have died on the beach. Scientists are trying to save the remaining 7. That's in Western Australia. Well, yesterday we told you about this. This is a WhatsApp group from a bunch of students at Exeter University in England. It contains all the kind of offensive statements you can imagine. It was leaked online by a student who wanted to expose the racism of some of the group's members. Now, these guys were studying law, and it got us to thinking, what rights to privacy do you have when messaging online? If you say something in what you think is a private conversation, can that thing you then say be used against you if it becomes public? Well, to discuss that and hopefully answer is Paul Bernal from the University of East Anglia. Paul, good to speak to you again. So those WhatsApp messages were racist, so I've got no qualms with them being leaked and those responsible getting into trouble. But what right to privacy should we expect when using these messaging apps?
Well, it's a big area, and we really need to think, when we think about rights, the rights need to apply to the people we don't like as well as the people that we do like, and the speech that we don't like as well as the speech that we do like. But in one way, this is actually a really old kind of story. This isn't about WhatsApp leaking the information. This isn't about governments getting access to it. This is about one person who was part of the private group leaking it. And this sort of thing has happened throughout the ages. You think you're having a private conversation with people you know and you think you trust, and it turns out one of them isn't trustworthy in that way. And actually, the argument that they should be having is with the person who leaked them, not with the systems that do. Now, that's only half the story, because now that we've got these systems, once it's out, it can spread like wildfire and it can have all the effect. In the old days, you might have tried to get an injunction to stop the person from leaking that information further. You might even take a case against them on what in the UK we call misuse of private information or breach of confidentiality. But now, because it's out there, it's out. There's nothing you can do about it. It's gone.
We can't expect a right to privacy in WhatsApp. I mean, it says as you open the app, you know, encrypted end to end. You think that maybe the government or whoever can't spy on you. So we can't expect privacy when using these things.
We can expect privacy from the government. We can expect privacy from WhatsApp themselves. You can't expect privacy from the person you're actually talking to. And that's where the thing is. This was somebody who was part of the group. The problem came for them when they let the person into the group that didn't have the same views as they did. And you may dislike the views, and I found the whole thing absolutely hideous. And so did the person who leaked them, it seems. And that's the other thing here. You know, you have your technological privacy within the system, but the system actually interacts with the real world. It screenshots here. This is physically, you're taking, that's what's on my screen, I'm going to do a screenshot, there it goes. And some systems like Snapchat will alert you if somebody's doing a screenshot of a thing. WhatsApp doesn't, and neither do any of the other systems that generally work. You know, when you're talking to somebody, you can't control what they then do with the information that you say. It's old style privacy here, interacting with the modern world.
So we should be more careful. I mean, my producer, when we were talking about this story, said that her mother told her never to write anything down that she didn't want someone else to be able to read. So we've got to be more careful about what we say and where we say it.
Yeah, and frankly, in this case, if you say something that's really awful and terrible, you might expect it to get leaked. And this is a leak rather than a problem with the technology or indeed with the legal system. And in some ways, you should always be careful what you say, and you should think, well, actually, what is the consequence of this sort of stuff becoming public?
Absolutely, and these guys were meant to be lawyers. Paul, always good to speak to you. Thank you very much again for joining us. Now, the portrait of the former First Lady Michele Obama is so popular, it's had to be moved to a bigger room at the National Portrait Gallery in Washington. This is it, and it was painted by Amy Sherald, and if I do say so myself, I think it's amazing. Now, what also is amazing was this. That's a toddler staring at the photo of Michele Obama. Apparently, she told her mum she thought Miss Obama was a queen. Well, Michelle found out, and because it's Friday, we now get to show you this. Yes, that's the two of them dancing to Taylor Swift's Shake It Off. And it's brilliant. All right, that's all from the Newsfeed team for the entire week. Do reach out to me with your questions, complaints and suggestions. I'm at Kamali Melbourne. You'll find us 24/7 on YouTube, Facebook and Twitter. Make sure you subscribe, add and follow. We'll see you on Monday.